Hey guys, I'm Jackson. This is my spoiler review for Alan the Alien. Now that's more like it. I didn't hate the first two episodes of this season, but this really feels like an episode of Invincible. It gives me everything I possibly want in an Invincible episode. We've got some crazy, wacky, hilarious characters. There's lots of fun superhero hijinks, but then there are some very powerful and emotional character moments. All of Debbie's stuff was fantastic, and we get a horribly brutal and shocking, violent murder of a character who at least I presumed, was not going to die this early in the series. Honestly, I would say this is a perfect episode of Invincible if it wasn't for the horrible switcheroo fake out that Seance Dog was not Seance Dog and was just some bug guy. And yes, it leads to a fantastic cliffhanger and I love all of that stuff. As soon as he was like, wait, what meteor? I was like, ho. Please, give me some Omni-Man. I beg of thee. It was such a great ending. But I cannot be the only one that was very disappointed that Seance Dog isn't real. I want him to be a character in this show. Seance Dog seems awesome. He's a dog with a cape and he's got magical powers. I literally can't think of something funner and cooler. And it's everything I love with this insane, stupid, ridiculous universe. It actually made me excited for the multiverse. I'm like, a multiverse universe where all their superheroes are characters, or just one where all the dogs have superpowers, or one where dogs are just people and he happens to have superpowers. There's so many options, and that really excites me. But no, he's just a bug. But apart from that, which isn't really an actual issue, it was just kind of like disappointing moment. This episode was amazing. I loved it so very much. One of my favorite things in a TV series is when they have fun with the opening credits and do wacky stuff. Invincible does that all the time, but seeing Alan's name pop up and having it the same thing where they set up going to say Invincible, but they say Alan the Alien, just utterly delightful. And what I really liked about that was I was suddenly like keyed into this kind of idea that like, okay, so this is going to be a full Alan the Alien episode and we'll follow him for the whole 50 minutes. And I thought that was really, really fun. I loved the way that they cut away from Mark and Amber and they're like, they're having sex, and then the narration started. I just thought that was really fun and weird. I thought it was a really fun and clever way to go away to Alan the Alien rather than just having the whole episode be about him from the start. Because at first I'm just like, okay, so just a college episode or whatever. This might be the same as episode 2, just a bit of a kind of in-between episode, and then suddenly it was like, oh no, this is going to be a full space episode, Alan the Alien, I'm all here for it. And he goes to the council of the people who don't like the Viltrumites or whatever, the council of good guys, and they cast Optimus Prime as the main guy, making his turn at the end so clever, because I was just like, oh, we've cast Optimus Prime, so he's going to be like the hero god, goodest of the good characters. But no, he sucks. Really effective casting. It just totally caught me off guard that he wouldn't be a good guy. So that worked really, really well. And his voice is just like, that's the voice you get for that type of character. Just really good stuff. And so, of course, with the Alan the Alien situation, he goes to the government of peoples of whatever, and he's all like, hey, there's Mark, he's a cool guy, and turns out there's probably a spy, a mole in the situation. With the Alan the Alien situation, I loved all of it. I just love seeing space, I love seeing the government. He's talking about Mark, he's got his girlfriend, they have weird tentacle sex, and it's all a bit of fun. But then we get to the bit where the 3 Viltrumites rock up, and at first it seems like they're just gonna beat the hell out of him. Then this music starts playing, and I'm like, oh, this is getting pretty intense. And then suddenly they punch him so his eye flies out, and I'm like, oh my god, we're getting another big Invincible moment where they fully kill a character, chop his arm off, punch him through the guts, bloody guts, just crazy. Genuinely caught me so off guard, and I'm a little of two minds about it, because on one hand, I really like the idea that we're going to spend a full episode with Alan the Alien, and so I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more stuff before the murder to make me really invest in him as a character. But then I wonder if we were spending a whole full episode and then it gets to that 45-minute mark right towards the end, would I, when they rock up and that moment happens, would I be like, oh, he's totally gonna die because we've spent a whole episode with him, and so you kill him at the end to kind of emotionally gut punch us? Whereas killing him so early in the episode, I just didn't expect him to die because we'd only spent like 2 or 3 scenes with him, and we were cutting back to Mark and cutting back to him. So it really felt like we were halfway through something. And so when they actually punched his eye out, punched him through the guts, and all his intestines exploded everywhere, I was generally caught off guard. So it was a really weird feeling of like, oh, I wanted more Alan, but it was probably really effective to not give us that much Alan because he dies like 20 minutes into the episode. It's crazy. Really clever, really interesting. I wonder if there's more stuff in the comics and they kind of took it out so that it happened more early to really catch you off guard. It's really clever. I thought it was really, really ingenious. And then there's that horribly disappointing moment where you're like, oh, okay, he's fine. Like he's in the hospital. And he's like, not fine, but he's not dead. And I suddenly was like hit with this overwhelming sense of like, oh, you tricked me. Because like when you punch someone through the guts like that, like I understand there's characters called the Immortal and there's lots of blood and gore. And now you've introduced the multiverse. So even with him being dead, the multiverse could bring another Alan the Alien in. So all these things. But to have him lose his guts like that and then just immediately be like, he's in the hospital, he's not fine, but he's not dead, feels like it takes a lot of the stakes away. A lot of my ability, at least, to be able to like watch a scene and take it for what it is, which is a horrible, brutal murder, and not just be like, well, he's probably fine, there's another one, there's a multiverse, all these things. But it does work very effectively to reveal that Optimus Prime, leader of the Council of the Peoples or whatever, is a bad guy. And he's still a little remorseful, like he doesn't turn it off and go, ha ha ha, I tricked you, Alan, ha ha, moo ha ha. He's like, I'm so sorry, Alan. So like, he's like, I don't know, he's sad about it or whatever. Doesn't make it a good thing. He could have not done it, but he did it, but he feels sad. So I guess he's nuanced in some way. So it's great to have that reveal. But man, I am so afraid that this show is going to at some point lose me in my ability to just like watch a scene and be shocked and horrified by the brutality, by the finality of these horrible murders. Like in season 1, when he kills the whole Justice League at the end of that episode, I was so overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed because I had no idea the show would ever be this gory and brutal. But because they're dead, they're gone forever. And yes, the Immortal's back, but his name's the Immortal. That's fine. One of them can come back because he's the Immortal or whatever. But generally speaking, I just hope they don't keep pulling those kind of little tricks because, I don't know, this show has something that a lot of shows don't have, which reminds me of a Game of Thrones kind of situation where it's just like death can happen to anyone, can happen suddenly, can be very violent and brutal and horribly unfair, but it's final. And yes, even Game of Thrones may have twisted that finality of death a couple of times too, but I just feel like so early in this second season, there's just so many little things making me go like, oh, I don't know how much I can trust people dying, which would be a shame because that's like not the thing that makes this show good. Like the humor's funny, the shapeshifter character, Ben Schwartz, the voice acting, it looks great. It's a fun, awesome universe. Amber's not the worst character ever anymore. There's a lot to love. Seance Dog, even though he didn't exist, he was fun. Oh my god, I can't stress enough how much I loved Seance Dog. He's a magical dog with a cape. It's so good. I hope with the multiverse stuff, we do get a real Seance Dog later. That will be delightful. But yeah, there's so much to love about this series, but a big draw that makes it, like it separates it from other stuff, is how brutal and awful it can be. So I just hope it doesn't lose some of that with all this multiverse stuff. It's still in the back of my mind, even though there wasn't any this episode. And just with, yeah, he's so dead. And like then to be like, he's actually not dead yet. I'm like, so the Doctor's abilities in this universe is just maybe a little bit too far. I don't know. I feel like that was the case in season 1, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because the multiverse is also there. I'm just thinking about like, well, it doesn't even matter if he's not dead or not. They can just get another Alan. So I'm just a little bit cautious of it kind of losing me in that part of the story. Not that it's ever going to lose me fully, because this show does Seance Dogs and other things, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, just something that's kind of keeps reoccurring this season for me. And of course, let's talk about that final scene where the bug people are all like, come save our planet. Trick, it's your dad. And the dad's like the king or the emperor or whatever they called him. And he's like, hey son, it's been a while. And it's like, my God, that would have been so confronting for Mark. But it's so funny, like the character, he's like, oh, I hate this. And I'm like, I love this so much. So exciting. Cannot wait for next week. It feels really weird that like we're already up to the mid-season finale. Like if you're going to split the season, it feels like 8 isn't enough for a full season. because like only 4, and that like after next week is going to be like a break for 5 months or however long. Feels a bit weird. But if it's going to be Omni-Man and Invincible having a big D&M or a punch-up or some kind of situation like that, it's going to be an amazing episode, and I cannot wait. That is like the definition of a perfect cliffhanger. Just super exciting, leaves you on a high. Like, I felt like the episode ended, I just like stood up. I was just like, yes! TV, I love this show! I'm sad about Seance Dog, don't get me wrong, but man, it's just good to have J.K. Simmons back as Omni-Man. He's so good. And like, you needed that break to have a couple episodes without him, but I'm so glad that it wasn't like 6 episodes or 7 episodes or the whole season, and then he appears at the end of the season. It's really good that it's like, no, it's just 2 episodes. He's back. We know he's like the best part of the show. We know. Don't worry. Don't worry, guys. We know. And it's like, cool. I'm excited. It's looking good. I will dream of Seance Dog tonight.